We launched Clippings as a design brief builder where somebody could clip images of spaces, of products, to create a design brief for the project that they're working on, and we would then connect them with the relevant professionals who could help them with that particular project. This was in 2013-14. It's a really major shift in the industry where people care much more about the impact of their work, of the products that they're selecting, of the buildings that they're constructing, the interiors that they're creating. We really missed a good burger or a great burger from London. So, being young and stupid at that point, we decided that we can also open up a burger chain.
Hello and welcome to the Recursive Connects. My name is Zornitsa, I'm the editor of the Recursive, and today we are visiting Clippings. It's a platform that helps designers manage, deliver, and install interior projects. It also simplifies the whole process, from product sourcing to communication within the team, and it takes care of the boring stuff, such as orders and invoices and timelines. It is UK-based, but their R&D team is based here in Sofia, Bulgaria. And today we're meeting with the co-founder and the managing director of Clippings, Adel Zakout. He's a serial entrepreneur, but also an architect. He was born in Dubai to a Bulgarian mother, and now he spends his life between Sofia and London. Adel Zakout, welcome to the Recursive Connects. It's a pleasure to have you.
Mine too, very happy to be here.
At Clippings, you're helping designers manage their interior projects for homes, for office buildings, for hotel chains. Tell us, what was the overall effect of the pandemic to the design industry that you're serving?
Sure. So a few things have happened in the past 2 years. Obviously, COVID has been terrible from a human perspective. I won't talk about that. From a business perspective for Clippings, it's been both good and bad. We actually have two revenue streams and two business models that we use or we operate with as an entity, as a company. The first is our marketplace on clippings.com, where, as you mentioned, professionals, interior designers, architects, and so on are able to access our catalog, manage their projects on the platform, request quotes, and fundamentally get those items delivered to their projects. That part of our business has been affected by COVID in a negative way because, we're primarily focused on the UK market. The UK was hit quite hard by COVID last year. A lot of the kind of market and business shut down. People weren't investing in new hotels and in new restaurants and in new bars, which obviously is important to us. Having said that, as the lockdown eased at the end of last year, and as the UK started opening up in the first half of this year, we've never had such strong quarter-on-quarter growth historically. So we're seeing, the market has significantly picked up. But last year we were affected from a revenue perspective by COVID. Now, the second revenue stream of our business is effectively us licensing our technology to enable third-party product manufacturers from this industry. So furniture manufacturers, carpet manufacturers, tile, like anyone who is, or any business that is selling products in this interior design space, we provide them with technology to enable them to start selling online. And there's a few unique aspects to that, especially around the fact that most of these businesses primarily sell to other businesses, right? Like the entity buying chairs for a new restaurant project is a business. It's not a consumer buying items for their homes. And e-commerce technology to power such experiences is actually very rare. There's not the kind of Magentos and Shopifys and Salesforce Commerce Clouds out there, very well suited and incredible solutions for consumers. But within our industry, that's a very different reality. Most businesses are kind of selling to other businesses, and the workflow and the experience that they require is just not catered to by many of the solutions or many of those historical solutions in the market. So we license our technology. That part of our business has been positively impacted by COVID because lots of brands woke up in March, April, May last year, and suddenly their kind of physical distribution networks, dealers, retailers, etc., were shut down, and they kind of had to, it accelerated their digital plans. So we've had a lot of interest in that part of our business. We actually, in the middle of the pandemic, launched our largest kind of such partnership with Herman Miller, or now Miller Knoll, which is the world's largest kind of premium design or furniture manufacturer. They produce the Aeron chair that is in our office, which you can't see on camera, but I'm sure many are aware of. And for the first time, they're selling directly to other businesses online, and that's really powered by our technology. So that part of our business has been positively impacted.
So in 2014, when you and your partner were starting your business, what made you find out that this design industry is ripe for disruption?
Sure. Well, I also get asked a lot why Clippings, why it's called Clippings. And the reason is that when we started Clippings, Clippings was not actually what it is today. Clippings was effectively a design brief builder. So we saw that it was quite hard for people to kind of get inspired to, or people who are working on a project, again, whether it's their home or a restaurant. It was hard for them to actually kind of manage that process, to find interior designers, to find architects, to find people who can help them in that process. We launched Clippings as a design brief builder where somebody could clip images of spaces, of products, to create a design brief for the project that they're working on, and we would then connect them with the relevant professionals who could help them with that particular project. This was in 2013-14. And basically with time, as we launched our MVPs, or minimum viable products of that particular proposition, a lot of people started getting in touch and saying, hey, love that sofa. How much does it cost and when can you deliver it? Like, no, we don't sell sofas. It's just images that you can clip to your design brief. But that started happening on a very regular basis. And through that process, we discovered kind of a lot of the fragmentation that exists in the industry, the lack of transparency that existed, especially then in the industry, the fact that most manufacturers, most brands don't have online presences, don't sell online. And that's really how Clippings in its current form today was born. We pivoted away from that and really focused on trying to resolve this kind of product discovery, specification, sourcing, purchasing process.
How did it help that you and your co-founder are both architects?
I think it probably helped that we both studied architecture. Both of our fathers are and were architects, so we both grew up, in that kind of environment. At the same time, none of us practiced, so we were, naive and stupid enough to try and do what we've done. But sometimes you really need that because yes, it was very helpful. We definitely had a much deeper understanding of the industry, in starting off, which obviously is an advantage. And I think, I guess at an emotional level, I deeply care about design. I deeply care about the impact of design in the world, but I also love technology. Absolutely everything that I've done or most things that I've done as an entrepreneur have been technology related. I got my first computer when I was 4 or 5. I spent my teenage years kind of tinkering with hardware and learning how to code. So, for me, it's kind of these combinations of passions, I guess.
So you started as an e-commerce platform, but then you pivoted to an end-to-end trade platform. Tell us, how did it happen and what have you learned through this process?
That was really driven by the market. Again, when we launched Clippings in 2014, it was kind of a pure marketplace. On one side, we were kind of knocking on doors of brands and trying to get them online, trying to get them to create shops on Clippings, or create profiles on Clippings and upload their products. On the other side, we were kind of trying to market those products to anyone who would want to buy them. We hadn't kind of fixed a specific segment that we wanted to focus on. And we obviously had a lot of interest from consumers who were buying items for their homes. But where we saw really significant growth was from interior designers and architects who, on a day-to-day basis are looking for products, right? They're working on multiple projects. They have this constant issue of trying to discover products, get pricing information, figure out when those items will arrive. So for them, it's a really major pain point because they're doing it every day. They're not doing it once every 3, 4, 5, 10 years, however frequently a consumer kind of moves, or a normal person moves home, for example. So we saw a ton of growth in that segment. We saw a lot of opportunity within that segment as well, in terms of really providing additional layers of technology to create a better experience. For example, on Clippings today, we're not a standard e-commerce kind of site. We are a marketplace that is overlaid with effectively project management software, workflow management software, where interior designers, architects, their clients are able to create projects, to collaborate, to go through the kind of specification and procurement process of their project using our technology to really enable that. So we saw a lot of value there, and we saw a lot of opportunity for us to create a better experience. We stopped selling to consumers in 2019. So that was kind of a big trigger for us. Prior to that, consumers kind of from 2016 onwards were a very small portion of our business that was constantly kind of year after year just diminishing in size and in percentage.
From a scale to 0 to 10, where do you think is now the design industry in terms of digitizing its services?
3.
Still very young.
Very, very young. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's very, very, very low single-digit percentage of transactions in this industry happen online. It is one of the last industries that really has not been disrupted or digitized.
Why is that?
It's a slower industry. It is a very complex industry. There's one project requires lots of different stakeholders in it. Many businesses in this industry are design-led, so they really care about kind of the beauty of design, their product development. They're incredible at that, but maybe less so from a kind of digitization perspective. They don't understand technology in the same way. But that is changing, and it's changing very quickly. And we're excited about kind of leading that change and taking charge of that change. COVID, again, kind of going back to that topic, is also an accelerant. Because whilst our marketplace business was impacted when everything was locked down, I think COVID has also shown us the importance of being able to collaborate digitally or virtually. It's kind of really accelerated many of the trends that we've already been seeing, slowly but surely every year. So I hope that will change, and obviously I believe that Clippings and now Clippings within the Material Bank family are really well primed to drive a lot of that change.
Tell us about the acquisition. How did Material Bank approach you, and what are your plans going forward? Are you planning a US expansion? Do you want to expand your team here in Sofia?
I'd say yes to everything, but in a bit more detail, I have known Adam, who is the CEO and the co-founder of Material Bank, and his team for a few years now. So we've kind of always kept in touch and kept track of how each of our businesses has been growing. A few years ago, we were discussing partnership opportunities of how we can help Material Bank launch in the UK and in Europe, and how maybe together we could do more in the US. So this is not a new relationship or a new contact. In the course of the last year or so, we were lucky, very lucky, to get quite a few acquisition offers of the business. We decided to accept Material Bank both because of that relationship and that trust that existed. A lot of these transactions, for me at least, it's really important that from a human perspective, there's an alignment of values, there's an alignment of mission, there's an alignment of kind of the way that we look at this space and what we're trying to achieve. And I saw a huge alignment, and I heavily respect the team there. So that was obviously a major factor in the decision-making process. In terms of what we want to achieve, Material Bank as a business, or their core business on materialbank.com, which is focused on the US market, is effectively a marketplace for materials in the interior design, architecture, and construction sectors. So an interior designer is able to discover materials that they need for, an interior that they're working on, for a restaurant that they're working on, kind of continuing on that example. And, on Material Bank, they can access millions of products. They can effectively request a sample of those products. And, really Material Bank has created an incredible sampling service where it's totally free for interior designers. And if they order their samples by midnight Eastern time, the next morning at 10:30, they get a beautifully designed box with all of the different samples that they've requested. So it's magic. I mean, it's an incredible improvement to what they had to do previously, which was email every single brand, and at some point it arrives. And there's a strong kind of strategic synergy within that funnel of inspiration that designers go through, sampling that they go through, then product sourcing and product purchasing that they go through. So we're very excited about that, and obviously strategically there's a very strong fit exactly because of that kind of funnel alignment. In terms of our plans, yes, I expect that we will geographically expand. Nothing specific that I can share right now in terms of US or Europe and when that will happen. Currently working on those plans, but that is one of the large ambitions. Material Bank, Clippings helps Material Bank also expand into Europe, which we're very excited about. In addition to that, and kind of second point, there's a lot of common products and services that we're currently working and offering. I think together we're much stronger, especially on the technology part of our business and licensing our technology. There's lots of great technology that Material Bank have and offer. There's lots of great technology that Clippings has and offers. Really combining those into more holistic and better services for our customers is a key focus. And then third, I expect to expand the team. I mean, that's Material Bank have raised roughly $150 million in their lifetime. So it gives us the capital to really be able to grow our business, to grow our team, to invest quite heavily in Bulgaria with our engineering and R&D team here. So very, very positive and really kind of all about growth fundamentally.
Tell us about why did you find your engineers here? Why did you decide your R&D team should be here in Sofia?
Yeah. Again, unfortunately, when I speak to people, the first thing that comes to mind is it's cheaper. That was not the motivation. I am half Bulgarian. I never lived in Bulgaria, but I've always spent time here. And I guess through the years, I've been very lucky to meet great engineers, to meet great leaders. And I guess, over time that network grew. Many of my previous businesses were started in Bulgaria, and one of my previous businesses is a digital agency called Despark. So, we were hiring a lot of people in the Bulgarian market. When we started Clippings, Tom and I were actually based in Sofia for a few months for a period. So this was really just the genesis of how the business started. It was not an intentional decision of, let's come to Bulgaria because there's cheaper talent. Actually, it was because there's incredible talent, and we knew that talent, and we kind of started growing the business and growing the team from that.
So Clippings is not the first endeavor that you start together with Tom. Tell us about your chemistry as a team. How did you two found each other? How did you find your mojo?
Sure. So Tom is the first person that I met at architecture school. Literally on the first day, I walked in and I don't know, I bumped into him or something like that, and we started talking. We became very close as friends throughout our university years. And both of us are very entrepreneurial, so naturally a lot of our kind of friendship was based on, look at this opportunity and what can we do here, and what could the world look like in the future if we were to build X. Yes, Tom and I've lost count now. I don't know how many ideas or how many businesses we've started together, 4 or 5. But I think we have a very strong relationship. We both, that relationship is based on trust, which obviously is incredibly important and critical. But in addition to that, I think both of us have an overlap in terms of way of thinking and way of looking at the world, but then also quite different strengths and weaknesses that make us stronger as a group and as a partnership. So yeah, I mean, Clippings is, again, 4th, 5th idea that we've started together. And throughout the years, we've obviously learned a lot about each other in building these businesses.
But apart from the digital businesses, you also own in Sofia a gourmet burger chain. What sparked your interest in the hospitality industry, and do you have any plans for digitizing there as well?
I'm a foodie. I love food. I'm the sort of person that will, travel across the world to go to a specific restaurant to try a specific dish. So as I started spending time in Bulgaria, and as Tom started spending time in Bulgaria, as we were growing open buildings, clippings, we really missed a good burger or a great burger from London. So, being young and stupid at that point, we decided that we can also open up a burger chain or a burger restaurant. So we launched Boom in 2012. It was the first gourmet burger place in Sofia. Before that, it was just kind of McDonald's and Burger King. And yeah, it's not 9 years later, a few different locations. My wife actually is the CEO there and leads that. So it's kind of a passion for food that really drove us to that. And the food scene in Sofia has really improved over the years. There's lots of great new spots kind of opening up. But again, we're excited about making impact there.
Do you have any plans for digitizing in this space?
My focus is on digitizing I think let me do one industry first and then we can think about another industry. Currently excited about just having great food in that space, but obviously lots of opportunities there too.
You've mentioned that you care deeply about design. Tell us what are some of the trends in the design industry that you are spotting and are going to be developing in the next few years?
Sure. Look, first, design, is quite a broad term. It's quite a broad word. But fundamentally, architecture, interior design, it has such a large impact on our lives. And I don't think, most people realize it, right? Like we live, we work, we eat, we play sports, we entertain each other, go to entertainment venues in buildings that, someone has thought of. And someone has actually kind of taken that idea, translated it into plans, drawings, renders, technical documentation, and someone or a team have then gone and built that. That journey in itself is incredible. And, I fundamentally believe that design has a major impact on ourselves, on our happiness, on our, kind of emotional state, kind of living in a beautifully designed home, working in an effectively designed office, going to a new country or going to a new city and seeing, beautiful architecture. It's really important to us as humans. So I personally kind of look at trends less. I care more about, I guess, the functionality and the impact that design has. We're definitely seeing, design or interior designers and architects really care much more about the environmental impact of what they're doing. Obviously, this industry has, quite a significant environmental impact on the world. So I think that's, a really major, trend, or, it's a really major shift in the industry where people care much more about, the impact of their work, of the products that they're selecting, of the buildings that they're constructing, the interiors that they're creating. And I think that that's something that will, drastically shift the industry, change the industry. A lot of designers who are now coming to Clippings, they're asking us questions about the materials, the environmental impact on the materials, the recyclability, the, where those materials were sourced from. So that is really something that is incredibly important. The actual visual trends, they evolve and they shift, and it's fashion, probably much slower than fashion, but that will constantly kind of shift as culture shifts and culture evolves.
And architecture-wise, do you have a favorite building here in Sofia?
I think Sofia lacks a lot of care about design, unfortunately. It's a shame, because if you look at Sofia kind of, from the early 1900s through to the 1980s, I'm a huge fan of modernist, brutalist architecture in general. I'd say that there was a very strong kind of attention to design. You look at buildings like Endeka, the fact that the door handles have been designed by someone, the fact that there's art that, has specifically been designed for that building. It shows, a real care and a real attention to to detail, to creating these incredible spaces, to materiality, to the way that they operate. I think you see that much less in today's new architecture, unfortunately. So I'd probably say many of my favorite buildings are from that kind of modernist, brutalist period. But nothing more modern, unfortunately.
Have any plans working as an architect in the next 20 years?
My dad constantly asks me that. He's an architect, so he's anxious. Maybe I think I love, as hopefully has come through, I really care about and love design and architecture. I think potentially kind of developing my own, or developing properties, developing buildings, developing spaces, places, maybe something that at some point in the future I'm excited about. But for now, very excited about kind of making larger impact on the industry.
Adel Zakout, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.